Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Someday with me, Jay Barsky. This episode's guest is fellow comedian and a good friend of mine, Raul Hernandez. I met Raul about a year ago while I was just exploring different open mics and trying to still understand myself as a comedian and just exploring my own bits and different jokes and just trying out in different rooms and just exploring meeting new people along the way. And he's been like such a great person to meet. When we met, we just instantly kind of clicked and just became friends. And right after I met him, he started the Dade County Comedy Company, which he has a lot of different shows out in Miami-Dade County and kind of building into the Broward County as well. I wanted to invite Raul over to my home studio because as this podcast continues on, I like to build up the equipment, especially right now, the sound equipment. So I was able to obtain an additional mic, just a starter additional mic, so a guest mic. So the main mic that I use now, I will use that for the guest, and the additional mic I will just use for myself. So now you'll get the chance to hear in this interview like good audio equipment between both parties. So you'll hear us talk about him starting the Dade County Comedy Production Company, or both our interest in the ocean and sea life, and everything else in between. With that being said, I hope you enjoy our Someday with Raul Hernandez. Raul Hernandez, what's up? How you doing?
Doing good, Barsky. Thank you for having me on, man. This is cool.
Well, I appreciate you coming up here. I know like you did the long trek all the way from Miami, but I kind of want to mention because you did something really awesome, which I haven't done yet, which you did a 3 mic night. Like,
Yeah.
what was it, like a few nights ago?
I've done it twice now. So
Oh,
I
wow.
did it one time back in August, and it was on a Wednesday.
Okay.
And then I did 3 open mic night recently on a Monday ago. And what Barsky means is that I did 3 open mics in one night. I did 3
Yeah.
mic or just went up on 3 stages on one night performing comedy.
I've made attempts to do
Yeah.
3 mic nights. Like I've knocked out like a 2 mic night and like a comedy show, or like what I like to do is like, open mic and then jump to a comedy show that has an open mic following that. Like those are always fun. But I've never done a 3 mic night. Like I've always like sometimes I'll miss the last mic, or
Yeah.
like the second mic's too long. But what did you do to kind of like prepare yourself for that?
That's a great question. I always think you should have goals if you're gonna do like little miniature, like if we're imagining this is a video game and you're trying to complete a level in the video game, you have a lot of little goals like, oh, collect 10 coins before the end of the stage, or like, hey, save this character before the level ends, kind of deal. So I always have little miniature goals in mind. It keeps you fresh, it keeps you happy like throughout your comedy experience. So the first thing is definitely you want to time it out right. You want to go usually on one path. You want to go like north or south, and then you also kind of want to triangulate in your mind which mics run the longest. So
Yeah.
the night, the most recent one I did in particular, I began in Cutler Bay. I began down south in Cutler Bay, doing the Sandbar show that's run by Mike Dava and Trash Fire Media at the Sandbar Cutler Bay. So they start their mic probably 9:30 ish, but that mic usually ends pretty quick because not a lot of comedians want to make that trek down south. But
Yeah.
if you are willing to do it, you'll get up on stage in front of a decent crowd. You'll get up in front of
Okay.
like 15, 20 people,
Okay.
which is good, and which is what every
Mm.
comedian should aspire to. It's not usually about time on the mic, and time on stage is important, but you also want to have an audience. Like those are the two most important parts of it. You want to have time, but you also want to have an audience that's able to react, and you're able to base if your jokes are good or not, or hitting or not. So did Color Bay first, did Sandbar first, and then I decided I was going to run to Thank You Miami, which is up near central, like Little Havana, Miami, and near Martin Stadium. That mic is kind of intermediate in the sense that it can go long because it's such a popular mic. There's very few really popular long list of mics. What I mean by long lists, that a lot of people are going to show up and end up on the list. And Thank You Miami, gratefully, and there's a big positive thing about having Thank You Miami in our scene is that it runs long. It's a great mic. It's a great hang. A lot of
Oh yeah.
comics come out from
Yeah.
everywhere. So we went to Thank You Miami second, and then lastly, you always want to end up your last show at usually with a mic that's happening at a in the biz type of bar. What I mean by in the biz is, so you have servers and bartenders
Mhm.
and people who work the service industry.
Yeah.
So there are bars that are known like in the biz bars, or
Okay.
bars like that specifically are for service industry people. So people who are getting out of restaurants at 10 or 11 at
Okay.
night,
Huh.
they usually want to go hang out later at a bar. And thankfully, Miami has a few of them. And Mondays, one of those bars is Seven Seas near the Gables, near Coral Gables, which is run by Raul Colom. He's been doing it for a little bit. While some people might find it as an interesting room, I love it. I love any room that gives you any challenge. You should always be excited to take on. You should always be like geared up for it, because those are rooms that if you win over just two people in the audience, that's going to equate to 20 people sooner or later down the line.
Yeah.
Much better than like a big room or a big like
Yeah.
prepared audience. So that was my journey there. So the first thing is work out the time frame, like work out which rooms are going to be open latest. Then the second thing I would say is you want to do different material. The point of open mics in general, and yes, you should try to get laughs every time you get to go up. You should try to perform at your best. But the purpose of open mics, especially for a comedian that's already been working on it for at least more than a year, you want to try out new material. You have to. So one thing I really geared up with with those mics is I did entirely different material in all three sets.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Damn, dude. Good on you.
yeah. It's you gotta keep writing, bro.
So we've met like I guess about a year ago now or
Yeah, yeah,
something. So how'd you get into stand up? Because I know I don't know if you were like far I know you started before
yeah.
me, but I don't know if it was like far away.
Honestly, it was not that far off, man. It
Okay.
was not that far off. So back in 2000, my comedy career is weird because back in 2015, 2016, I was really involved in doing podcasts
Okay.
around
Oh,
Miami.
wow.
There was at one point in my life I was doing 8 podcasts a week.
Oh shit.
So I would do 3 podcasts with this network that's ran by a comedy company. Um, with a famous comedian who's here from Miami. And then I would do 2 podcasts of my own. And then I was starting to do like a fantasy football podcast. And we started a wrestling podcast on the side. Like, so it got to the point that I
Damn,
was
dude.
doing 7, 8 podcasts a week. I remember I used to have an apartment. I had a whole setup of my apartment that I had soundproofing put in. I had like soundproof curtains put in. I had boom arms with like nice mics put
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
I learned how to use like Audacity and GarageBand later on.
Okay.
Eh, so I was doing a lot, like in the sense of comedy, I was doing that a lot. But I never did a stand up. I never really got into stand up, even though I love stand up.
Mhm.
Finally, so the pandemic hits in 2019. No, 2020. Excuse me. It hits in 2020 March. So March, April, May, everyone was freaking out. I remember there's statistics coming out from like major medical organizations like the WHO and stuff like that saying that like there was a possibility that this could be fatal to 30 to 40% of the world. So half the world was going to get eviscerated. It was the thought process because of things that were going. I don't know if you remember, like really early on in the pandemic, the Italy, like people were just dropping in Italy,
Yeah.
and then in
Yeah.
New York was like getting ravaged by it.
Yeah.
So it seemed like things were just going south quick. And in my mind, I was like, if I was gonna like face my mortality, kind of, I want to do things that always wanted to do in my life.
Right. Yeah.
So I decided Sean Mullins, God bless Sean Mullins, man. That guy, I miss him some of the comedians I miss from that have left to do bigger and better things in New York. Sean Mullins, he used to run a lot of mics and he used to run a lot of shows down here in general
Mhm.
in Miami. And he ran this show out of a kava bar in Wynwood. And I went up, I did like I burnt through all of my written material within 3 minutes. I remember I was holding the mic and I literally went, okay, I'm done now. Can someone get me? Like I saw Sean running up. I was like, got in my car and I like just yelled at myself the whole drive home.
Oh, man.
But I got addicted from there, man. Like the idea of like just continuously doing it. And yeah, so from 2020 to now, it's 2.5 years I've been doing it now. And that's where I'm at currently in my stand-up career. And at that time, Miami-Dade County only had 4 major comedy shows that were not at the Improv. So the big problem that was occurring was there was a lot of bumping that was going on. The thing that set us all over was we saw an Uber pull up.
Mhm.
3 comedians got out of that Uber, and all of us looked at each other and like, these comedians are gonna bump every single person that was on this mic who have been here
Mhm.
waiting for hours.
Mhm.
And they did. And it just became just annoying. And it also started becoming a little sad because there are other people who are trying out comedy, who are just starting out, who are funny people. Like they could have worked out and had like good bits, and you literally saw that they were quitting that day, that they were done, they were walking away. So that really frustrated me. The whole situation of everything happening was frustrating me, and I pulled Alex and Mike aside, and I was like, "Hey, we got to do something about this." So what we did was I I sent out email blasts, hard letters, like actual envelope letters, and was DMing every bar from Key West to up to West Palm Beach.
Mhm.
I remember like reviewed it. I think I emailed in total over 247 venues at the end of the day,
Oh, wow.
just to try to get a comedy show.
Mhm.
And finally, one of those venues responded. And that venue, ironically, was the venue that's at the very edge of Miami-Dade County, which is Exit One Tap Room. I love those guys. It's in Florida City. It's right before you get on the A1A to the Keys. And from there where we flourished, we did well in Exit One Tap Room. Exit One Tap Room communicated to other venues that were reaching out, gave us good like reviews and gave us good notice to other people like, hey, these guys do good work and we do very professional work, and expanded from there.
Nice.
So that's a pretty much the story of how I started producing. From my past, that past I was talking about earlier of me doing podcasts back in the day, because I formed a lot of connections in like the nerd slash geek community, specifically comic book conventions and stuff like that. Because of those connections and because of me knowing the process of things, I was able to get us booked on book comedy shows for these comic book conventions, specifically SuperCon, Central Florida Comic Con, Sunrise Comic Con. We're trying to get to more. So if there's anyone listening out there who ever wants us to do a Comic Con, please let us know. And I love those shows. I do have a lot of material just because I'm a nerd. I'm a huge nerd. I'm a huge dork. Like I watched this whole new series of Lord of the Rings. I was like fanboying over it.
Okay.
I'm a huge dork. I'm a huge dork. It, and I have a lot of material that's based in just nerddom and geek culture.
Mhm.
And because of that, I was able to transfer it to the Comic Cons. The one thing I do like about the Comic Cons and the comic book conventions in general, one, that they're very welcoming, they're very open to us being there. Some of them have their own challenges, like some of them we have to work clean material, meaning that we don't have material that's really that's open to all audiences that kids can listen to and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
that's some of the challenges with Comic Cons. But some of the positives about Comic Cons is you get even bigger audiences there than you would get at a comedy club. So, for example, last SuperCon we did a head count and we had like over 350 people
Oh,
in a
wow.
conference room listening to all of us do our
Wow.
bits.
Nice.
And it's awesome, and you get a good camaraderie, you get a lot of followers come through, and people, even people as sensitive as you may think that geeks and nerds and dorks like me are, they want to hear comedy, they want to
Yeah.
laugh, everyone wants to have a
Yeah.
good time, and it's just a beautiful experience, and it also gives like really experienced comics a chance to work out different material, clean material, material that involves like pop and geek culture. Like and I love it. I really do love it, and I appreciate every chance we get to do it. It's the one. It's those shows are actually the shows I get yelled at the most about. Like comedians like yelling me on my DMs or like emailing me or texting me like, "Hey, why am I not on the show yet?" I'm like, "I'm working on it, bro. You're on a list of like 50,000 people, so we're working on it."
You talking about you got into podcasting, and so I don't know if you're still currently working on
Yeah.
a podcast, but I saw like something called Weird Waters. So
Yeah.
is that something you're still working on?
Yes, I am. I apologize for anyone who's been following it. I know I haven't posted in like a month and a half. It's just been, I mean, if you check my Instagram, for example, if you check my social media following, you know that I'm like just running around a lot lately. So it's really hard for me to settle down somewhere and like do a podcast. Not saying I'm appreciative I'm here. But yes, I have Weird Waters. The original concept of it was I love everything water. I was trying to make a podcast that was very personal to me. So I love everything about water. I used to believe when I was a kid that my family was like the ancestry of Atlantis. I used to believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
That my family came from Atlantis at one point. I used to really want to be a marine biologist. Like Jacques Cousteau was like my idol back in the day. Like I thought that guy was the bravest, coolest guy in the world. All snorkeling, scuba gear, like he invented that guy's a badass in that sense. So I was really into all that, and I wanted to talk about it and also talk about like not conspiracy stuff, but like I don't know, Atlantis, or talk about like the first episode I did was called about the bloop. The bloop is this sound in the 90s that the Navy and NOAA, the National Weather Organization, they record this sound that came off the Pacific coast, and they couldn't determine what it was. They feel like it may have been like tectonic plate movements, but a lot of people thought that it was a biological organism. And if it was an organism, it would have been like 4 times the size of a blue whale. So like I like talking about stuff like the movie Cloverfield is based off that sound.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's something always interested me. I love, so we've explored a good amount of the universe and outer space, but water, and specifically the ocean floor, we have only mapped out, and I use that term very definitively, mapped out 2% of the ocean floor. And when I mean mapped out, now this is the crazy part. That means that a GPS signal or a depth finder bounce was done. It was not mapped out visually. It was mapped out with a computer. So that means technically of the ocean floor that humanity's actually seen is probably like 1%.
Yeah.
So that's something that's always really cool. There's a lot of mystery in the ocean. I'm also going to kind of open it up more, make it more freeform, because we work with comedians. I would like to get comedians on the podcast. Tarno wants to do like a Tarno show. So it's I kind of going to use it for like a collective purpose later on.
Tarno show. I like Tarno, man. I'll be a big fan of the Tarno show.
The Tarno show is coming. I promise you guys. We're working on it.
I did my undergrad in anthropology, and one thing that got me interested in doing that was archaeology. And I actually wanted to do what was called fantastic archaeology, which was focusing on things like Atlantis and like oceanography and like things in the water and stuff, like, because I was interested in doing that, because I thought, like, honestly, I thought I was going to be the Indiana Jones of like ocean stuff.
That's cool, bro. That's an awesome idea. You know who's the person that's gone the deepest in water?
Who?
James Cameron.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
James Cameron, he got really fascinated with underwater exploration because of Titanic. So after Titanic, it took a while for him to make the next movie, which was Avatar.
Right.
So people were wondering, like, what the hell? Why is he taking so long? The reason why is he made a bunch of documentaries and he did a lot of like funding into undersea research.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so Jacques Cousteau used to have the record, and then James Cameron blew him out of the water pretty much. And he did like a real big deep dive, and he has the record of being like in a submersible, in like a submarine, the deepest in water that any person's ever been. And that's why when you look at Avatar, when you ever watch Avatar, a lot of the way organisms and a lot of the way the animals act in Avatar is very much like sea creatures.
Yeah.
And like the plants, how they act in Avatar.
Yeah.
Like their fluorescent, the bioluminescence and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's where James Cameron took all those thoughts from like exploring the ocean floor.
Okay. Yeah, I go to the beach a lot, and I do like my joke writing at the beach. Like I was at the beach this morning just doing a walk, and I hear bits sometimes. Like I just think to myself, think of some like funny stuff that I giggle like by myself, just, and I'm like, oh man, let me text it to myself. And I always say it's like the ocean, like the wind is like giving me like ideas and stuff. Like if I can't think of anything at home, like I go to the beach and like that's where I get ideas. Besides like going out to shows and stuff, obviously you get, but I do a lot of like reflection on like experience on like an open mic or a show that I went to, and sometimes I'll do like multiple stuff and just reflect on my experience and just like how to like better develop my artwork or like podcasting or stuff like that.
Do you paint?
So you're referring to this?
Yeah, this and this guy.
So this one, Raul, is I have two paintings in my place. So the first one I'll get to is this one. So this, I'm still new to this place, so, and I wanted to get like paintings, so I don't really watch much TV.
Yeah.
And so like if I'm just like working on stuff, like something to look at. So this is something that I've like my family's had for like since I can always remembered.
Really?
Yeah, and I've kind of always looked at it like that's someone that I want to be, like that's just like someone that just like has power, that just like taking care of like the world. And
it's crazy. I was looking at this painting, I was like, oh, that's like a hero. I thought it was like
a like a hero,
but it's like really cool,
like a heroic person. Like you see that and like that's a heroic person. Like so I see that, and like this is something I've always looked at, when I was a kid, like growing up. This is all I've seen every day. So it's kind of like, someone that I want to aspire to be. Not, I don't have to look like that, but like someone that, takes care of those. So I kind of like set it up that, something I pass by and see, every day.
Yeah.
So that's the story about with that one.
Yeah.
This one, so I have a red Austin Healey.
Yeah.
So this is a luxury car. I'm not really into like cars or luxury cars, and like I have a Prius, and it's great on like I can travel and stuff. But it was just something nice my brother had, and I like looking at it. Like it's a nice red car.
Yeah.
But if I ever like make it to like the point that I can afford luxury cars, like a few of them, I would like to just to have like one. Like it's just something like someday.
Your view of art, it seems like, is that you look for things that inspire you.
Yeah. Like it's kind of like positive affirmations. Like you've seen people like write on the wall. Like that's a little like, especially if you're going to have company over, I get that you have positive affirmations, like be yourself or think positive, but you have company.
Yeah.
Like you kind of want to have something more entertaining to look at. So yeah, like, like they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Like, this is what speaks to me, something that inspires me to like become the person that I want to be.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's actually really sweet and genuine, man. I always wonder about art like that. It's always hard to figure out, like, they always say like the price of art's in the eye of the beholder and stuff like that. That's how they gauge like art price.
Yeah, I'm not really big on like big, like big loud cars and stuff. I kind of wanted like a car that just fits like how I am, like nothing too small, but just convenient, but like still is good on gas, can still last long, gets me from point A to B, and like, I mean, it's great when I can do like multiple mics and like if I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
head down to Miami and stuff
No, of
like
course.
that. But like something like this, like it's Austin Healy, like something locally, maybe just
Yeah.
like drive to the
Drive
beach,
to the beach,
yeah, yeah, have
downtown.
company,
You
like
wanna
a
know, something funny? You're talking about, electric cars and stuff like that. So, Dodge is trying to come out with an electric Charger, like electric muscle car,
okay.
and, they're worried that guys who are, like, into big muscle cars or big engine cars, they weren't gonna like it. So, they put in this is so hilarious to me. They put in this sound effect that when you rev up the Charger, it makes, like, a fake, like, rev up noise so that they feel,
Yeah,
like, still masculine. I don't know,
yeah.
it's funny to me. Like, why would you do that?
I've heard like something similar, like I don't know if they're still doing it, but like an electronic or electric, motorcycle and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And like, and people that like do, have motorcycles really like it because like they can rev it up and it makes a loud, like
Yeah, yeah,
tough
yeah.
sound. But if you do an electric, motorcycle, it doesn't make like, like a Prius, like it
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't have a sound like that. And that's gonna like, I think that turned off a lot of people that wanted a motorcycle just because they wanted that
They
sound to
wanted the
like they wanted
sound, they
that
wanted the
tough great.
feel. It's just funny. I always thought that was hilarious. Oh,
I
man.
was like, wow, just because like it does so great for gas and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that, it's great for the environment, but just because it doesn't make that tough sound,
No, of course. It's hilarious.
based on our interactions, you're a calm guy. Like
Yeah.
you're a very calm guy. So I can't think of a bigger word besides
Yeah,
calm.
yeah, no worries.
So what do you do to kind of like release stress and kind of remain calm?
Oh man, okay, you're gonna get an exclusive here. So if you're talking about like before me going up on stage, like what makes me feel calm. Oh, this is so embarrassing. I'm about to say, so get ready. Uh, I liken a lot comedy to pro wrestling. I know that sounds
Okay,
weird,
no, I
but
can see that, man. I can see
I
that.
liken it a lot to pro wrestling. So something I do, no one knows I do this because I just hum it in my head. Before I ever go up on stage, you'll probably see me do it. I'll be like kind of dancing or like just chilling on the side of the stage before I go up.
Uh huh.
And what I'm doing is I'm humming a theme song of a famous wrestler that I love in my head before I go up on stage. So I get like
Okay.
that feeling of like
Yeah,
going
yeah,
in from
yeah,
the
yeah.
entrance. Oh my god, it's so dark. I just said that.
Or who's the wrestler?
Oh man, it's a variation. I change it. I change.
Okay.
So sometimes it'll be John Cena. Sometimes it'll be The Rock. Sometimes when I feel like I'm really like not angry, but if I'm aggressive, I'm feeling aggressive. I do Stone Cold.
Okay.
My favorite my favorite theme song lately, the one I use the most. It's not even a famous wrestler or a famous wrestling group. So WWE has like an offshoot like farm brand, meaning that they grow wrestlers, like they train wrestlers to become better and better and better to make it to like the main show. It's kind of like their open mic system. It's called NXT. And in NXT, there used to be this group called uh, the Undisputed Era. There's this group of like these young, kind of smaller, scrawnier wrestlers, but they dominated this brand for a while. They had all the championship belts and everything,
Okay.
and they had an entrance song that was just like really badass and was awesome. So that's usually the theme I'm humming in my head when I'm about to go up on set. It's so dorky and dumb, but it gets me in that clear headspace. First of all, that hey, everything we're gonna do right now is silly. Everything we're gonna do right now is like we're just making people laugh. So we're just trying to have fun, try to make people forget about their day. And if you go up there with that mindset, I think you're gonna see that you're gonna have a better experience in general. You know, my favorite wrestler all time. I feel like he's the most. Still, even though he's considered one of the greatest, I still think he's even underrated to this day. Is Macho Man Randy Savage.
Okay.
So the reason I like bringing up Michael Macho Man and Randy Savage in these moments is Macho Man was notorious for always wearing sunglasses all the time
Right.
until he was on the ring. That was the only time he didn't wear sunglasses. But everywhere else, he was always wearing sunglasses. People wonder why. It was no, what it was is that Macho Man had really, really, really bad public anxiety.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Super strong, super rough public anxiety.
Oh, wow.
So he would use the sunglasses as kind of a shield
Huh.
from him in the audience to communicate. That's why it's super rare to ever. The only time you ever saw Macho Man talking to people without sunglasses was like the very late stage near end of his life.
Yeah.
It was so he used to always wear the sunglasses as kind of like a protective shield, and it allowed him to create this like really boisterous, really fantastic pomp and circumstance character. And I mean, he's such an awesome wrestler when you find out more about him. Yes, he has his flaws just like every human being, but he also was like a beautiful human being. He did a lot of great things for wrestling in general, and people in general. And that's like it's funny how like a lot of your heroes have like this really strong flaw you don't really see come to the surface until later in life.
Do you do any kind of like routines throughout the day or the week to kind of help you throughout not just comedy, but kind of just in life in general?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I have a day job and a night job. My night job being comedy is I always carry a change of clothes in my car because you never know like when you're gonna like I got a
Okay.
show tonight because of some
Yeah.
that was got put on last minute, like so I always keep a change of clothes in my car. I always keep my notebook on me, and I also always have a notes section on my phone.
Yeah.
Um, really, it's more I don't wanna say it's a crutch, but I use them as just, like, a good placeholder for any bits I've been working on. I don't know if it makes sense.
Hmm.
But I always keep them around because, man, I could tell you, and this sounds cliche as hell, but I've been in the shower, in the middle of the shower, thinking about an amazing bit, and then I grab my phone, and I'm starting to type
Mm.
on in the shower a bit.
Okay.
Or, I did a bit a while ago that I came up with driving home from work, and it was because I passed by a place with a horrible business name, and then from there, I started writing, and so always keep something and it's also as an older person now, I'm 35 now. I've gotten like these old man habits now.
Hmm.
Like I always have a pen on me. I always
Okay.
have a pen
Yeah.
on
You
me
gotta. Yeah.
to write down something. I know it sounds weird or dumb, but like I always have a pen to write down something. Um, I do carry water in my car a lot. As far as like keeping my mind fresh, I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. I
Hmm.
used to watch so much TV.
Hmm.
I remember I would come home from high school and I would watch like 3 hours of TV straight. I would watch 2 episodes of The Simpsons. I would watch Family Guy and then South Park or like something else, another TV show. Seinfeld would come on. Um, and I mean that probably helped me in my comedy, I guess. But like eh, now I don't watch a lot of TV. I'm writing. Um, I don't uh drink a lot, honestly. Not because I don't want to, it's just because I feel like I operate better on a clearer head. Like
Hmm.
sometimes I'll indulge in something, but most of the time I like operating on a clearer head.
Okay.
And what else? I wear white sneakers. I know it sounds stupid. I used to not like wearing I still don't really like wearing white sneakers, but and man, maybe I'm a poser or like a copycat. If you ever go online and you look at any professional comedian nowadays, all of them are wearing white sneakers.
Okay.
Every single
Yeah.
professional comedian now is wearing white sneakers. So I always wear white sneakers now.
That's strange because I actually like wearing black sneakers.
I used to love wearing black
Yeah, I like
sneakers.
wearing black
Yes,
sneakers.
they're
Yeah.
great. You don't have to worry about them getting
Yeah. Yeah.
dirty.
Exactly.
They keep their color better. But like there's actually I don't want to name names, but there's a very famous comedian out there that he's notorious for having on his rider. So writers like requests that they have to make to clubs that the clubs have to fulfill
Hmm.
or like a show has to fulfill. This comedian has to have a brand new pair of white Air Force Ones his size before every show.
Oh. Wow.
He was notorious for having that rider on his contract. Some people think that you put riders on that just so that they
Yeah.
make sure to read the contract. But some people
Yeah.
think that he did because he's a jerk. But I don't know. It depends on how you feel. But it's an interesting little fact I like throwing out there.
It would be nice to go like be at that level to at some point that you have to have something really weird to kind of like prepare. Like I want a box of Oreos on my table in my green room before I.
So the classic one, was Molly Crew. Molly Crew had a writer on their contract. Molly Crew, the famous rock band. They had a writer on their contract that they could not. They had to have a bowl of M&Ms in their green room or in their backstage area, and there could not be any brown M&Ms. They had to have
What?
all brown M&Ms removed.
Yeah.
And they later on, I think they interviewed they interviewed one of the guys, either Nikki Sixx or one of the guys, and he apparently said that the reason they did that is that kind of confirmed to them that the companies or the venues read their contract.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
that was like a
Oh.
way of like confirming that,
Huh.
okay, they read the contract, they understand everything. Some people think, no, they're just being douches. I don't know. It depends how you feel.
Maybe I'll think of something where like you have to take each Oreo and like take it apart and flip it, or some weird take out all the cream and then put it back together.
That's some weird ass writer.
Something just to see if you read.
I want one bottle of Zima in my green room. Zima doesn't exist anymore. I don't care. I want Zima in my green room. But
Yeah.
I mean, I try to have a routine. I do. This is the thing. So the animal in the wild that I respect the most, not that I admire or I aspire to be like this animal, but the animal I respect the most in the wild is the chameleon. Why do I respect the chameleon the most? Because the chameleon can adapt to any environment you put him in. He'll adjust his colors, you adjust his shape. His eyes move around a lot. So I'm always a creature of like trying to adapt as much as I can.
Do you do any practices that help motivate you? I know we were talking about like you have like routines that you do to kind of like help you throughout your craft.
Yeah.
But how about like anything to help motivate you on like a hard day?
Yeah, man. There's a few things. I think I come from the medical field. I've worked in the medical field for over a decade of my life, and one thing I can tell you is appreciate like the fact that, like, for example, a lot of us are able to walk on two legs. A lot of us able to hold things with two hands. A lot of us are able to speak. A lot of us are able to have normal vision. Like, I know these are like cliche things to say, but appreciate the things in life you have. That's number one. Number two is, so life is super fragile and precious, and the end could be coming around the corner at any moment. So all these things, like, you gotta use your time wisely, in the sense that, like, you don't have a lot of time on this earth.
So are you working on anything for our listeners should watch out for?
Yeah, we're gonna be coming up with new shows soon. Please stay put and follow us on Dade County Comedy on all social media. You can also go to our webpage, dadecountycomedy.com. We have our shows posted there. Again, I promise Weird Waters episodes are gonna be coming out soon. Follow Alex Tarno, of course, he's my compatriot.
Yeah.
And all this stuff at Tarno Time. Tarno's he's a awesome guy. I'm so proud of him. Like, he's done so much this year that people, I don't think, have a full like comprehension of it yet. But like, man, he's had a hell of a year for himself this year. And then you can follow me at RDHITO87 at all social media. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm always gonna be on shows, and I'm trying to just do good out there in the comedy world.
No, you're doing great, dude.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Bro.
you're killing it. You're coming. I like that you're coming like beyond Miami Dade. Like you're going to Broward, and hopefully like The world is your oyster, dude.
Hopefully it's all of ours.
So do you have any final words you want to share with our listeners to help motivate them in pursuing their someday?
Yeah, man. Just you got to start with small tasks. Like try to complete small goals. Like there's this classic motivational goal. I think like a Marine came up with it or something, to make your bed every morning. It's like a little small task for yourself to do every morning. Make your bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a common goal. And then once you do that, it's like you've already completed one small goal a day, and just try to stack victories for yourself, and celebrate. I think something that we don't do enough in this world is we don't celebrate our victories. We don't celebrate the little successes we have. I think that sometimes that we've gone to this culture like, okay, yeah, you did that. Okay. But the next day's coming. So celebrate now. Have a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful time and enjoy these moments and enjoy these victories. Enjoy like all these small little things that happen good in your life. Um, not saying again within reason, but that's one little thing I would say. And then chase chase your dreams. I do believe in that. Again, also within reason. Um, and it'll always guide you to the right spot. I have this feeling. I'm not spiritual. I'm a spiritual person. I'm not like purely religious, but like I do feel like there is a pathway for everybody. Not saying a destiny, but like we all have a little pathway. I
Yeah.
think all it takes is just having the grind and having the being relentless and being oh my god, professional and relentless are two words I've been using a lot lately. Like you take up be a yes man for yourself. Be like any opportunity, even if it scares the crap out of you, even if you don't like it, even if you're tired, just say yes. Say yes, a yes, a yes, a yes, a yes, and do it. And then in the end, even if you regret it, you said, "Hey, I did it. I know what it feels like. I don't need to do it again."
Great. All right. Well, appreciate you sharing all of that, Raul. But thank you so much for joining on this episode. And I think we're gonna, I'll have you again,
Oh,
man.
I
You're
appreciate it, bro.
a recurring guest. We'll
Thank
do
you.
that. But thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
All right. Thanks for listening to our episode with Raul Hernandez. Follow him on all his socials, which you may find in the episode notes, along with the information given about the Dade County Comedy. I hope you enjoy your episode. Please rate and comment on the podcast to help make it grow. If you wish to follow me, all my socials are at I am Barsky. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon.